I also want to say that City of Houston has indicated that anyone with a Louisiana license plate will have free parking anywhere in Houston today. So if you're watching and you did evacuate and you don't know where to go, head to a parking lot in Houston.
Well, you know, I tell you, that's one state trying to be a neighbor to another, one city trying to be a neighbor.
And North Carolina opened up shelters yesterday for folks that were going to evacuate this situation.
Yeah, and you know, conditions are really getting bad in a lot of these areas. One of those places where it has gotten very bad is in Covington, Louisiana. That's where Jeff Morrow has been standing by, and he's had to kind of break down for a while because the conditions are just getting too bad to report out of there. But he did file this report here just a few minutes ago.
This is probably the worst that Hurricane Katrina has thrown our way in Louisiana, at least in the Covington, Louisiana area. We are well north of New Orleans. We are definitely on the western side of this hurricane, the northwest side. This is generally known as the weaker side, but boy, I'll tell you, you couldn't tell it looking into some of this wind. Gusts definitely probably up almost to hurricane force right now. At times it's a little bit difficult to stand. Just wind-driven sheets of rain blowing sideways, a lot of trees bending over, and a lot of them have come down. Power's been out since early this morning around this area, and with this much rain coming down, I'm sure we'll have some localized flooding. Now, we're not close enough to the lake, and the wind is actually blowing in the opposite direction from Lake Pontchartrain for us to see any problems here, but it could be much different down toward the New Orleans area. Again, we don't know whether these winds are going to be strong enough for Pontchartrain to breach the levee system down there, but nonetheless, we're getting reports from New Orleans that there is some structural damage there. Some light posts at the very least have come down. Some windows have been blown out of some of the high rises, and the Superdome evidently has sprung some leaks there as well. So some structural problems down in Louisiana, some structural damage as the winds there even a little bit stronger. Quickly, I'll walk over here and just show you some of the wind blowing the rain sideways down behind me. Again, we expect to see this for a bit longer until the eye of Katrina passes us by to the east, and then hopefully as we pass the noon hour, things will start to quiet down. I'm Jeff Morrow reporting from Covington, Louisiana.
And that's what a lot of people are hoping for, that things will start to quiet down, but we still have a lot to get through.
Indeed we do. We indicated a little while ago of a levee breach in New Orleans. We want to pinpoint that for you as you look at the city of New Orleans here. And this levee breach occurred on the Industrial Canal at Tennessee Street, where 3 to 8 feet of water is expected in the breach. Notice where the French Quarter is. Notice where the levee breach is. This is not limited to Araby and the 9th Ward of New Orleans. It could extend out further.
Now, we just had a report from Jeff Morrow. We told you how to break down because of the conditions there, but we have him back now, and we want to take you quickly here live to Jeff Morrow in Covington, Louisiana.
I lost IFB.
Nope, he's having trouble hearing us. Let's see if we can... You know, we're going to get back to Jeff, but first we're going to go to Stephanie Abrams, and she's in Fort Walton Beach.
She is, where she's seeing some wave heights there that continue to increase. As do the water Governor Jeb Bush on a state of South Florida on Katrina's first landfall, and also talking a bit about the conditions in the northwestern part of his state right now.
And, you know, we have seen impressive damage already throughout the Gulf Coast. It didn't take long for Highway 98 in Fort Walton, Florida to wash out. Right now, Highway 98 between Okaloosa Island and Destin is closed because of flooding.
Now in Mobile, the winds are picking up and have already caused damage on highways and city streets. Power lines are down and several buildings have been damaged.
And in Covington, Louisiana, roads are flooded, and along the coast, waves are kicking up, making it dangerous to venture out. Here's some of the damage that we've seen coming in from the Covington area. Meteorologist Jeff Morrow and crews sent these pictures in just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, another person getting lashed right now by some strong winds and some heavy rain, too. And all morning long, actually, is Mike Seidel in Mobile, Alabama.
And we're going to turn it over to you now, Mike.
Hello, 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 hello.
Hello.
Testing out his microphone.
Okay.
Mike, what's going on there?
Hey, Heather and Marshall, we're down here in Mobile. We're back out here on the frontage road looking down I-85, or rather I-65, and you can see the power of the wind blowing the water across the highway, across that Ford dealership. You can hear the howling of the wind here. So far, these signs have held up pretty good. This Family Inn sign has held up. We'll swing around right now and show you the flag, and this is looking back towards Mobile. By the way, we just heard that there's an moorings over there in Mobile Bay by the Cochran Bridge, and right now they've got 3 tugboats out there trying trying to wrestle with a big oil tanker at this point with these wind gusts over hurricane force.
That's Mobile, Alabama, reporting live, Mike Seidel. We have other reports coming in now from New Orleans, Louisiana, which is getting the brunt of the western eye wall or very near to it.
Well, you know, significant and life-threatening storm surge here of 18 to 22 feet above normal is occurring, and the levees here have actually been overtopped in Orleans and also St. Bernard parishes. Of course, Orleans, that is the county where New Orleans is located. So this is going to lead to some very catastrophic damage coming into the area. We've already heard reports of, unconfirmed, but reports of buildings that have collapsed there, as well as a lot of damage due to some windows that have been blown out, objects flying through the air in New Orleans, such as siding, and also lampposts that have been blown over.
And the southwest part of Lake Pontchartrain has been affected now. The east banks of Jefferson, St. Charles, St. John the Baptist, and Livingston parishes. Serious situation from New Orleans to Biloxi and Gulfport, Mobile, and north of that region with this landfalling Hurricane Katrina, still to make its third landfall imminently.
And you know, while we talk about New Orleans and Gulfport and some of these areas that are getting hit very hard right now, there are also a lot of other problems coming out. You know, New Orleans, one of the problems we're seeing too is a Superdome. Now, we've heard reports that this is minor, but the roof was peeled back a little bit there. Also, that they are using generators there, but the air conditioning doesn't work.
Air conditioning doesn't work. Generators can't support it, but it can support electricity. Now, with that breach, there was a little bit of a water leak earlier, and they moved the people from where that leak was. There's about 9,000 to 10,000 people in the Superdome. There have been no injuries, and everything is just fine. Want those of you to know that know someone that has gone to seek safe shelter at the Superdome.
Yeah, keep in mind here with New Orleans, I mean, what's so problematic in the New Orleans area here too is that it is located under sea level, and with that, you know, it relies on a system of earthen levees, seawalls, water pumps, and really luck to protect itself from hurricanes. But you know, that flood control system is designed to handle a Category 3 storm, and of course this is a Category 4 hurricane, and as we've been saying, we are now seeing some breaches there in the levees taking place. Some people, certainly many people, have evacuated the area, but there are 485,000 people that live in New Orleans, and even if they've evacuated, they may come home to a very damaging situation.
One of those situations that will be damaging for many is in Gulfport, Mississippi. That's where Jim Cantori is. We're going to go to him now.
Just incredible, you know, if you will, first-hand experience with storm surge and how that water can come in and how quickly it can back up. I mean, our water is still coming up now, starting to enter the first floor. We tried to barricade the doors as best as we can. The generators have been shut down. Everybody's holding out, though. All the Armed Forces retirement folks are doing pretty good here. They know what's going on outside and how powerful it is, but there's a lot of course, officers that are here, and we're trying to just kind of barricade any water and keep it out as quick as we can. But, you know, it's just an amazing sight. When you look out at the parking lot, you see cars floating around. We see dumpsters floating around at will, and winds howling at 120 miles an hour. It's just absolutely unbelievable. A lot of tree limbs down, a lot of trees pretty much stripped of their leaves, the ones that haven't come down. And so imagine what a tree looks like fully leafed out, and then imagine what a tree looks like when it's fully defoliated in the fall. And that's the kind of... I'm standing here right now, I'm going to have to back up because the water just keeps coming in on this first floor here. So, guys, what am I going to tell you? A lesson in storm surge. We're safe. We're safe.
All right, and here, of course, we are talking to Jim Cantori and breaking up there. And keep in mind, too, that Jim Cantori went to a place thinking it'd be very safe. It was 27 feet above sea level here, where he's located at a retirement center. And still, he said that the parking lot is flooded. We have water coming into the building right now. And, you know, I have a lot of concern because I know somebody personally who decided to stay behind despite my telling her to get out of the New Orleans area. And I know many of you know people, too, that tried to ride out the storm. And it's very scary when you hear some of the information that is coming in.
Indeed it is. Let's check in with Dr. Steve Lyons. Steve, when is the worst going to be over?
Well, it's happening right now, that's for sure, and it's going to be over probably in about 2 or 3 hours. Circulation is starting to make a second landfall here, at least relative to the New Orleans area, right on the coast of Louisiana and Mississippi here. It's going to go in and it's moving straight north. The western eye wall is over basically portions of New Orleans, and now some of the strongest winds are coming out of the north across Lake Pontchartrain. And if there's some levee breaks there, we're very concerned how much water is getting into the city, because it's going to take a long time to pump that water out if it does get in. And if the water's in there, people can't get in if they're already out of there. And if they're in there, they're going to be in trouble if they're not in higher ground. Now, the circulation is moving here on shore. That means the south winds are coming on shore here. The highest wave action is occurring now along the Alabama-Florida coastline, about 25 to 35 feet, maybe a little higher in some specific locations. And now the right front quadrant is also coming on shore in Mississippi, which makes the surge along that area some of the highest of all. Now, here's the latest visible satellite image. You can see the circulation area very close to New Orleans, but just to the east, but that doesn't matter. The eye wall has caused a lot of damage there, and there's a lot of flooding in the city. Now, let's look at the radar image for a second. First of all, you can see the eye wall here. Look at Slidell. They're in the northern portion of the eye wall now. They may have actually gotten stronger winds than New Orleans did. We'll have to wait and see, but as the system moves inland, it's going to start to weaken, but it's going to take a while because it's a very strong hurricane, and it'll take it a long time before it weakens below the level where it cannot do any more damage. Here's the big patch of the right front quadrant moving into the Biloxi, Gulfport, past Christian area, Waveland area that's produced that large surge. Exactly how large, we're not sure. We're thinking somewhere around the 22 to 24 foot range, but as you heard from Jim Cantori, it could have been higher, maybe 27 feet. A little surprising based on the strength of this, considering a Cat 5 and 69 produced 24 feet. But wait and see. The bad news is it's bad enough that there's a lot of flooding there as well. Now let's look over here. Here's Lake Pontchartrain here. New Orleans sits to the south of it, and now the winds are coming very quickly out of the north, right to the east side, to the west side of the eye wall. And so now the strongest push of water from Lake Pontchartrain toward New Orleans is occurring. So if there are any breaks in the levee system, or if that water tops that levee system, water could be filling up New Orleans right now. We don't know whether it is or not, but the worst case scenario is occurring right now. Once the system moves in a little bit, it'll begin to weaken. The winds will turn to the west across New Orleans. That'll direct the water from Lake Pontchartrain toward the east, which is basically from whence it came back out toward the ocean. But that's going to take a long time to settle down. In a lot of the areas that have high water, that water won't drain out for days. It'll take a number of days to drain out. So the circulation here, moving on shore, the wind is improving down here in southern Louisiana. That's the good news. But it's going to continue to increase as we go northward into Mississippi. And this is direct structural damage potential. The greatest, obviously, has been here near landfall. But it's going to continue inland as the system's moving about 15 miles per hour. We can expect hurricane-force winds to extend inland as far as about 150 to 200 miles. That's a long way, and that's at least a level where significant structural damage could occur. Heather, Marshall.
All right, thank you, Steve.
We're going to take you to Covington, Louisiana now, which is north of Lake Pontchartrain. We have some fresh video in from here. In Covington is where Jeff Morrow is stationed. He's been reporting this morning. As you can see here, a tree down on the roof of a house. It has been uprooted. Heavy rain has been falling. Winds have gusted to near 100 miles per hour. And Mike Seidel is in Mobile, Alabama.
We're going to be taking you first to looking at some of the conditions that we've been seeing with this hurricane. Remember, Katrina swept across southern Florida last week as a Cat 1 hurricane, and this also killed 9 people here. The first landfall was near Miami. It had winds of 80 miles per hour. That was on August 25th.
Then it began trekking across the Gulf, and its second landfall was this morning at 6:10 Central Daylight Time. Winds at 140 miles per hour at Burris, Louisiana. That's very near to Grand Isle, Louisiana. And its third landfall is imminent.
We're going to take you now to Mobile, Alabama, and that's where Mike Seidel is standing by live. Mike, what's the latest here?
Hey, good morning, Heather and Marshall. It is about as bad as it's been all morning. Skies are getting dark again. I think we got another squall coming in. Take a look. We're looking at the Old Glory, and look at the wind whipping that flag now. These gusts are up around 60 miles an hour, 60 to 65 miles an hour. You got and the rain blowing right into you. Fortunately, we're not seeing any major structural damage, at least on this section of Interstate 65. We're just off Airport Boulevard and just a few miles north of I-10, safe from Mobile Bay. Take a look at the pictures from earlier around Dolphin Island and down towards the coast. This is where we have issues with surge and flooding.